Gather round, story lovers, and let me tell you a timeless tale about an unlikely friendship, a story that proves no act of kindness, however small, is ever wasted. Our story begins on a warm, sun-drenched afternoon deep in the heart of a lush, vibrant jungle. A magnificent lion, the true king of his domain, with a mane like a golden crown, and muscles that rippled with power, was enjoying a peaceful nap under the shade of a giant baobab tree. The jungle was alive with the gentle buzz of insects and the distant calls of birds, a perfect lullaby for the mighty beast. Just then, a tiny field mouse full of energy and mischief was scurrying through the undergrowth. He was on a very important mission to find the juiciest berries, and he darted and zipped over fallen leaves and tangled roots without a care in the world. In his haste, he didn't see the giant, sleeping obstacle in his path. Before he knew it, he had scampered right across the lion's enormous, furry paw. Whoosh! In an instant, the lion was awake. A thunderous roar echoed through the jungle, startling birds from the trees and sending smaller animals running for cover. With a lightning-fast swipe, he pinned the terrified little mouse firmly under his massive paw. The mouse's heart hammered against his ribs, and he trembled, looking up at the lion's colossal face and his set of very, very sharp teeth. "Please, O great and mighty king of the jungle, please spare me," squeaked the mouse, his voice barely a whisper. "It was an accident. I swear, I didn't mean to wake you. If you show me mercy and let me go, I promise you I will never forget your kindness. One day I will find a way to repay you." The lion looked down at the tiny creature quivering beneath his paw. A deep, rumbling laugh started in his chest. "You? Repay me?" He chuckled, the sound shaking the ground. "How could a minuscule thing like you ever possibly help a powerful king like me?" The thought was so amusing to the lion. What could this little fluffball do that he couldn't? But the lion was in a good mood from his nap, and the mouse's bravery was, in a strange way, quite charming. He felt a wave of generosity wash over him. "All right, little one," he said, his voice softening. "Run along, but be more careful where you scamper next time." With that, he lifted his giant paw, and the mouse, not waiting for a second invitation, scurried away as fast as his little legs could carry him, disappearing into the safety of the tall grass. Life in the jungle continued. A few days passed, and the lion was on his usual morning prowl, his powerful strides confident and proud as he patrolled his kingdom. But disaster struck. As he pushed through a thicket of bushes, he suddenly felt himself tangled and lifted off the ground. He was trapped. A hunter's net, woven from thick, strong ropes, had ensnared him completely. The more he struggled, the more he thrashed and writhed, the tighter the ropes became. He let out roar after roar of pure frustration and fear, his powerful voice filled with desperation. His roars of distress traveled far and wide, reaching the ears of a certain tiny mouse. The mouse recognized the roar immediately. It was the voice of the lion who had spared his life. Without a moment's hesitation, he followed the sound, his little heart pounding not with fear, but with determination. He soon found the magnificent lion, helpless and trapped in the thick ropes of the net. "Don't worry, my friend, hold still," the mouse called out. "I'm here to help you." The lion stopped struggling and looked down, his eyes wide with surprise. It was the very same mouse he had let go. "What can you possibly do?" The lion sighed, his hope fading, but the mouse didn't answer with words. He immediately set to work. He climbed onto the net and began to gnaw at one of the thick main ropes with his small but incredibly sharp teeth. Nibble, gnaw, gnaw. Patiently and persistently, he worked strand by strand. It seemed like an impossible task, but the mouse didn't give up. Slowly but surely, one rope snapped, then another, and another. The mouse scurried all over the net, chewing through the knots and the thickest parts. Before long, the net began to loosen, and with one final mighty effort from the lion, the last of the ropes gave way and he tumbled to the ground, finally free. The lion stood up, shaking himself loose. He looked down at the tiny mouse, who was now sitting proudly on a leaf, catching his breath. A feeling of overwhelming gratitude and astonishment filled the lion's heart. He had laughed at the idea of this small creature ever helping him, yet here he was, saved by that very same mouse. "Thank you," the lion said, his voice deep with sincerity and humility. "You saved my life. I was foolish to laugh at you. I see now that you were right. Even the smallest of friends can perform the greatest of deeds." From that day forward, the lion and the mouse became the most inseparable and loyal of friends. They showed the entire jungle that size and strength aren't all that matter. What truly matters is a kind heart, because an act of kindness, no matter how small it seems, always has a way of coming back to you, often when you need it the most. Thanks for watching our story today. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next adventure. See you soon.